Good afternoon, Oak Grove. Happy Thursday. Welcome to this week's installment of the Midweek Update on the church's YouTube channel, where I just pop into your devices in the middle of the week to say hello and to try to keep the church on our mind for the rest of the week when we're not in worship on Sunday morning, because that's such an important thing for us to do. Thanks for taking a few moments to join me here today. First off, I'm going to start off by doing an update on the update. I've decided that, like the Sunday morning announcements, I really need to take some action to try to shorten these videos a little bit, because fewer people are watching them than they used to watch them, and I suspect that that has to do with the fact that they've ballooned up way too big in length. You know, in recent weeks, they've been 12, 13 minutes long. I realize not everybody has that much time of their day to give to me. They'd like to watch the video quickly and move on with the rest of their day. And so I'm going to make a real effort to try to shorten these going forward. So that is an update about the update. I am coming to you from my office today rather than the sanctuary because the church is a busy place. We've got preparations going on for the funeral of Tom Applequist tomorrow morning. So for those of you who are not aware, if you missed the announcement, somehow Tom passed away last weekend. He will be laid to rest tomorrow morning at the church. There will be a viewing at the church from 10 to 11, and then the service will start at 11 o'clock, followed by a luncheon after that. So do join us if you'd like to take a moment to pay your respects to Tom. I don't like to use this channel for too many updates, but also don't forget that this Saturday, we will be participating in the Green Valley Park Trunk or Treat. Oak Grove will have a booth there, as we did last year, and we'll be handing out candy again. We've got at least 1,000 pieces of candy we can hand out. And the more the merrier, even if you have not signed up otherwise to be a part of that. If you want to come join us at the booth, you don't have to make any reservation with me or notify me in advance. You can just come on out and join us at the booth. We're encouraging people to dress up for the occasion, but you don't have to dress up if you don't want to. I intend to wear the incredibly creative costume of a pastor during that day. So if you just want to wear a nice warm coat because it's going to be a cool day, that is fine as well. When I don't otherwise have any other big messages for you on any given week in the videos, I like to give you a little excerpt from the daily lectionary readings and just offer some brief reflection. Today, one of the daily lectionary readings is a passage from the book of Joel, the prophet Joel from the Old Testament. But I'm only going to read you the first 3 verses because they popped out to me. This is just Joel chapter 1, verses 1 through 3. The word of the Lord that came to Joel, son of Pethuel. Hear this, O elders, give ear, all inhabitants of the land. Has such a thing happened in your days, or in the days of your ancestors? Tell your children of it, and let your children tell their children, and their children another generation. So, what kind of jumped out at me was looking at it and seeing the line, has such a thing happened in your days or in the days of your ancestors? It made me think of the modern tendency that we have turning on the news or flipping through, the news stories on our phone, which, to be honest, these days, most of the time, that's where most people are getting their news most of the time. It's when they're sitting there doom scrolling through their phone, and they're seeing it whether they want to or not on social media. All the relentless, negative, bad news that there is to harp on in the world. And we sit there and we say to ourselves, boy, I can't imagine a time when it was worse than this. Boy, things must be worse now than they've ever been. I can't imagine a time when the news was more bad than it is now. We'll go on and on saying things like that. Well, I understand the sentiment, but, some of it, I sit there and I say to myself, is it really the fact that human nature has really changed that much in our day and age? Is the news actually that much worse now than it was in generations prior? Or is it just the fact that thanks to these devices, like the one that I'm filming this on right now, my phone, is it just the fact that thanks to modern technology and modern communication, we just know about the news a lot more often? We hear about it instantly. If there are atrocities committed on the front line of a war, if there are human rights abuses happening in the world, we know about it like that, right? It populates into our devices almost immediately that it happened. And then we can't disconnect from it either because, like I said, I do it too. What I do, I don't actually watch the news on television anymore, but I will sit there and read the paper on my phone in the morning for 20 or 30 minutes, maybe. Well, 30 minutes at the absolute most. It's usually less than that. Maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes, something like that. I'll read the news, the national news, the local news, the international news. I'll read the news, but then I try to put it down for the rest of the day and not think about it again, right? And that is for the purposes of my mental health. As pastor, I should know what's going on in the world so that I can comment on it, but I don't want to allow all the bad news to drag me down. Well, I'm willing to bet a lot of you are the same way, where you probably stay informed. Then we try our best to disconnect. But the problem is then when we're just scrolling through our phone, doom scrolling in the evening on our favorite social media platform, maybe the adults are spending their time on Facebook or on YouTube, and maybe the kids are spending their time more on TikTok or Snapchat or Instagram. But as you're doom scrolling through all of the media on there, you can't help but be continuously reminded of it. So we're just relentlessly bombarded with bad news all the time. And that's just what jumped out at me when I read this from Joel. Has such a thing happened in your days or in the days of your ancestors? Yes, it has. We just didn't see it as much. But human nature has not changed since the Lord God made the first human beings. Humanity has seen genocides. Humanity has seen all sorts of brutal dictatorships. Humanity has seen fascism on large scales. Humanity has seen dictators attempt to conquer a large portion of the world. These things are ongoing now, but they have been ongoing all throughout human history. And so we ought not to see those and take them as a sign that God has abandoned us, that God is not present, because things were as bad at other times in human history. Yes, it might be true that maybe larger numbers of people are suffering at this time in history than ever before, but that's just proportional because the overall population of the human race is also greater than it ever has been in history. But it is because the relentless bad news is always in our face that it is so important for us to refocus our attention on good news. It is so important for us to refocus our attention on the gospel. That is what gospel means, good news. Notwithstanding what you see in the media today, Christ still died for you. Christ still rose for you. God has an ultimate plan and purpose for all things. We are going to spend eternity in the presence of God, and somehow all things are going to be all right someday, some way, in God's timing, according to God's plan. And so we have to make a conscious, intentional effort to remind ourselves to think positively in that way, to remind ourselves that God is still out there is still good, and God is still in control. When we're relentlessly bombarded by that bad news, it is all the more important to keep ourselves focused on good news. So, how do you do that? Go out of your way to look for good news. Literally Google good news stories today, and you'll find there are resources out there with them. But highlight the things in your life that bring you joy, and make sure you look for the good where it is appearing, because that's the only way that we can, as an intentional, concerted effort, combat the relentless bad news. So I'm going to keep it short. I said I was going to keep it short, or at least relatively shorter. I'm going to cut it off. That's what I've got for you today, Oak Grove. I will hopefully see some of you at the trunk or treat on Saturday. Otherwise, I will see the rest of you in worship on Sunday. Take care, God bless, and have a wonderful rest of your week. Oh, and also I will see some of you at Tom's funeral tomorrow if you choose to come pay your respects to Tom. Thanks, and I will see you Sunday, folks. God bless.